Hey everyone, today we have an exciting game for you from the AI Cup. We have Alireza Firouzja with the white pieces, and he's up against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave with the black pieces, who's a big fan of the Sicilian Najdorf, and that's what we're going to see in today's game. Alireza played a similar game just a week prior to this game against Wesley So we get to see that dynamic of which player out-prepped the other player, who can outsmart who. And this one has some neat twists and turns, tactics leading right up to the very final move, so let's dive right in and see what happened. We have e4, c5, Sicilian defense, knight f3, d6, d4. This is called the open Sicilian when white plays d4. Takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6. This is all standard, and now we have what's called a Sicilian Najdorf when you see the pawns on a6 and d6 in the open Sicilian. This is MVL's specialty. Bishop g5, e6, f4, queen b6. Queen b6 is the most popular move lately, and the idea is it threatens queen takes b2. And this is following the game Firouzja versus Wesley So like we just talked about. So now Firouzja has to think, okay, what does MVL have cooked up? He must have something prepared. He probably saw the game against Wesley. So this is going to be a battle of who can outsmart who. So Firouzja plays knight to b3. He's the first player to deviate from that Wesley So game, and it's a nice solid move. It's just making sure that the pawn on b2 is safe from the queen's attack, and this avoids MVL's preparation. So now we see knight bd7, queen e2, and what Alireza wants to do here is he wants to queenside castle and push the pawns up on the king side. Queen c7, queenside castle, and at this point the computer is saying the position is dead equal, but with opposite side castling, we have the white king over here on c1 and the black king will probably end up on g8. This is going to be a dynamic fight, so both players are going to try to attack on the flank where the opponent's king is. Pawn to b5, and here it comes from MVL. a3, nice prophylactic move to prevent b4. Bishop e7, king b1, another prophylactic move. The king's a little bit safer on b1 than he was on c1. Rook to b8. And now queen e1, bishop b7, bishop d3, h6. So MVL's waiting a little bit to get castled, but first he's putting the question to Firouzja's bishop, and Firouzja does not want to take the knight, because that would give MVL what's called the bishop pair. MVL would still have two remaining bishops, and Firouzja would only have one. That's an advantage usually to have the extra bishop. So the best move is bishop back to h4, knight to c5, and now we have a critical decision for Alireza. Knight takes d3 is threatened, which would give black the bishop pair like we just talked about. Does Alireza attack on the king side and play a move like f5 or maybe even g4, or does he exchange knights first to preserve his bishop on d3? Alireza says, YOLO, you only live once. He pushes the pawn ahead and tries to attack the black king right away. And then MVL plays a surprising decision. He plays e takes f5, and this opens up the black king a little bit on the e file. It might have been a little bit better to take on d3 first and get castled and just leave the black pawn on e6. So now Firouzja plays knight takes c5, d takes c5, and I think he smells blood because this tactic coming up is very surprising, but Firouzja definitely had it prepared. E takes f5. There's this pin on the e file, pinning the bishop, but fortunately the queen does defend. So on move 18, MVL finally gets castled. And now we get to see the shocking move from Firouzja that highlights his style of play. He's aggressive, he's dynamic, and this move really shows it. He plays bishop takes b5. This is the best move in the position, and it's a brilliant move according to chess.com. Gets the double exclam mark. So now, if a takes b5, for example, the plan is to play bishop to g3, skewering the queen to the rook, and after queen c6, pick up the bishop. And in this end position, black is up a rook for And in this position, Alireza would be up a pawn, but the computer says that the position is equal, so that means MVL has full compensation for the pawn. But in the game, after bishop takes b5, MVL instead plays bishop takes g2, an aggressive move in return, and after rook to g1, this is starting to look a little bit scary. A takes b5 played, rook takes g2, pawn to b4, and look at the king's safety for both kings. This king is being attacked by the b pawn, and this king is being attacked by the rook on g2 coming down the g file. Knight to e4, threatening to win a piece on f6. So this g pawn is pinned, meaning knight takes f6 followed by bishop takes f6 would win a piece for Alireza. So MVL plays knight takes e4. And after queen takes e4, now there's another major threat in the position. Alireza wants to play pawn to f6, highlighting again this pin down the g file, attacking the g7 pawn and the bishop on e7. So now MVL tries to get out of the bind by swapping bishops. Queen takes back, king h7, and this is a cool move. So the threat from Alireza is still to play f6, and what MVL wants to play in return is pawn to g6. But when the king is back on g8, f6, g6, queen takes h6 is going to happen, followed by queen g7 mate. So MVL slides his king neatly to h7 in order to guard this pawn on h6. f6 played by Alireza, pawn to g6 by MVL, and now we see a cute tactic from Alireza, rook to d3. This threatens queen takes h6 check, the king takes back, rook h3 is actually a checkmate. It's a queen sacrifice for a pawn to get checkmate. So MVL sees that, he plays queen to e5, and after rook h3, pawn to h5, and everything is all of a sudden solid. What Alireza could have played, though, instead of rook h3, there was this cool move, rook takes g6. It's not quite winning, but it's a very nice tactic. The only move for black not to be mated in 8 moves is king takes g6. And after rook g3, the queen has to block, queen e4 check, and black is surviving, but he will have to give up the queen, and it might be an easier position to play for white. But instead, rook h3 was played, pawn h5, rook to g5, and another queen sacrifice is threatened. Queen takes h5, and if the g pawn takes back, the h rook takes with checkmate again. Alireza is just hitting MVL with threat after threat on the king side. So what can MVL get going over here on the queen side? He plays queen e2, and now we see the first slip up from Alireza. Alireza gives up the initiative. The initiative is when you're dictating the pace of the game, you're creating the threats, you make your opponent react. This queen is very dangerous, threatening to come down to the first rank, and Alireza lets it happen. What he should have played here is rook takes h5, and after g takes h, queen g5. This is a perpetual with best play. Check here. This is threatened. This is threatened. So really all MVL can do is just check back and forth, perpetual check for a draw. So draw would probably be the best option here for white. But Firouzja plays queen to f4, and maybe he knew that it wasn't the best move, and he was trying to play for a win. But now MVL is in the driver's seat. He has right around a 1-point stockfish advantage. He plays queen to e1, checking on the back rank. And after king a2, queen e6 check, forks the king and the rook. So the rook has to block. Pawn to c4, attacking the rook. And MVL misses a strong move here. What he could have played is b takes a3. And I think the idea is there's no safe way to take the pawn back. If king takes, there's going to be rook a8. And if pawn takes, there's going to be rook takes b3, pawn takes queen e2 check, and this king is about to get mated on the back rank. There's not enough counterplay. So a miss by MVL there, and instead he did not play b takes a3, he played pawn to c4. Now, Alireza makes a blunder. Rook b to g3. He doubles his rooks on the g file. Can you spot the killer blow for MVL? Pause the video if you want to try to find it on your own. The killer blow is pawn to b3 check. And after c takes b, that forces the king to the back rank. You never want to put your king on the back rank with back rank mate tactics. Always try to avoid back rank mate tactics for your own king. This is going to cause problems for Alireza. This is going to lead to a million tactical threats, and he's got to try to solve all of them. And this is just an online speed chess game. Queen e1 check first. Queen c1 to block the check. Rook e8. So Alireza cannot take because MVL takes back and we have a back rank mate. Rook c3, so Alireza's trying to hold down the fort. Queen e4 check. King sidesteps. Rook b to c8. And it looks like at first glance, oh, maybe I could win a rook. But after rook takes c8, queen takes c8, again, back rank checkmate issue. So after rook b to c8, we see rook to g1 by Alireza, trying to shore up this back rank. Queen to d4 by MVL. The players are making some minor inaccuracies, but it's a very tactical position. MVL still holds a strong advantage, and he's shuffling a little bit. He's trying to wait for Alireza to make a decisive mistake where he can see the finishing shot. So Alireza plays rook g to g3, trying to safeguard everything here, but he missed something. And I think what he missed is after rook takes c3, there's queen to f2, threatening rook to e1, and there's no way out of this. If you play rook to d3, for example, you can go rook e1, rook d1, takes, queen c2, and this is just going to be over. The white king is paralyzed here on a1, and black's able to make multiple moves with these pawns, and the white queen cannot move off the first rank. So I think that's what Alireza missed. So after rook takes c3, he tried b takes c3, but now there's queen to f2, and white cannot stop the combination of rook to e1, pinning the queen to the king, and also queen to a2 with a checkmate. So, wow, what a game between Alireza Firouzja and MVL. And from the start, both players showed some nice moves and a lot of tactics. Alireza tried to surprise MVL with that bold piece sacrifice on b5. MVL handled the tactics well, and it was just fun to see these top players battling it out in a Sicilian Najdorf. So thanks for hanging out with me in this breakdown. Chess is full of surprises, right? I can't wait to see you guys in the next game recap.